Yeah, it is actually, but I would like a sense of something more accountable coming from the company's sense towards a local like the Philippines.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Yeah, Congressman, I think that, first of all, we're sitting here today, which I'm glad to be doing. I think it's very important that Meta, as a company with such ubiquitous and important services, answer your questions on these really important issues, especially in the lead up to an election. I'd like to point out that maybe we didn't actually show that slide now that I think about it, but we put a slide on our presentation that showed the award that we received from COMELEC after the last election for the work we did to protect the integrity of the election. And so, you know, and we intend, and we are in the process of doing that same work now with the midterm elections that are around the corner. And I would also just emphasize again that there are 11 different reporting channels that various agencies of the government and law enforcement have to come to Meta for accountability, right? And on top of all that, we also publish our transparency report every 6 months, where we demonstrate in a very transparent and open manner the content that we've removed based on violations of our community standards, the content that we have restricted due to local law, data requests that we have acted on based on law enforcement, and a number of other metrics that really show kind of how Meta is approaching our responsibilities in the Philippines. And I believe my colleague Rob would also like to add to that.
Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, may I add to the response? A very important question when you're talking about accountability. So I just want to speak briefly about real-world harm. When there is potential, and there's been a crime committed, and there's potential for real-world harm, law enforcement agencies in this room know how to lawfully request data from us. So we've helped mitigate innumerable threats here in the Philippines, from terrorist threats to kidnapping threats to child exploitation threats. We proactively escalate suicidal users. So when it comes to accountability, I think from the perspective of the law enforcement outreach team, we want to make sure that the Filipino law enforcement agencies present can probably speak to this as well, but we have a very robust data disclosure policy that's in line with our terms of service, American law, and Filipino law. And it's used each and every day by Filipino law enforcement so that they can go after the actual bad actors that are operating off-platform and coordinating off-platform harm. Thank you, sir.
And lastly, Mr. Chair, to drive at my point, would Meta support Philippine Regulatory Committee for social media platforms so that they can partner and help out does the same regulatory committee if it was formed? I believe that your presence here would be a big help and a good sign to this inquiry. But again, we are aiming towards a regulatory committee that would help us, especially combat fake news and others.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much, Congressman. I'd be more than happy for Meta as a company to engage with the Philippines government and Congress on any type of regulation that you're considering when it comes to these issues. I think we have now many years of experience in terms of working with governments around Southeast Asia, Asia Pacific, and indeed globally, to come up with modalities and regulations that really can help protect users, but also protect freedom of expression, that try to properly balance freedom of expression and safety, and that, of course, account for local nuance. It's really important that countries have their own solutions, and we're happy to share what we feel like works, what's been more challenging, and what doesn't work, and we'd be very happy to engage Congress further on that issue. And I'd appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll reserve some of my questions for the second round. Thank
Honorable
you,
Arlene Brosas is recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few questions also, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, how many websites or applications are under the Meta umbrella?
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, if I may. We have Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp, Threads, which is a part of Instagram to a sense. We have our Quest devices, which are virtual reality devices that also have application, and we have specific application for our Meta Ray-Ban glasses that we are now producing together with Ray-Ban. There's a specific application for that. And then, of course, we have the various websites that also operate these platforms, including now Meta AI.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If you'd like a very complete, thorough, total list, I'm happy to provide that for you in writing. But,
thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, my next question is, do you have for example, a study of which is the most to have a content of disinformation and fake news? Which of these, the websites or applications have the most? Is it Facebook?
Mr. Chairman, if I may. So thank you. Congresswoman, that's a very tough question to answer. Again, I'll just go back to the kind of place where I started with, which is how do you determine what's misinformation, right? That is not an easy question to answer, but what I would say is
we can qualify it as what's reported, right?
Yeah. So if
is
you
it Facebook? Can you give us?
Yeah. So if you look at the fact checks that are reported. And now, but I just want to be clear, just speaking of Philippines, right? I believe, and I can check this to make sure that it's accurate after the hearing, but I believe that the most fact checks we see in Philippines are on Facebook.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, my question is, how do you ensure that there are no disinformation or fake news that are being disseminated in, for example, in the Facebook platform? Previously, my colleague said that she reported the fake news, the AI-generated content. Do you have a mechanism of removing a content if it's a disinformation or fake news motu proprio? For example, if it's not reported and it's being generated, so those are two different things, right? One is reported and one is not reported. If there's no report of that, but it's an AI generated and it's a disinformation or fake news kind of news.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Congresswoman. The fact checkers that we work with, the third-party fact checkers, have the ability to, and they do very often, fact check content even if we have not reported it to us. So the answer is yes. And I would say, I just reiterate, from earlier in my presentation, that whether a piece of content is AI generated or not, we would still treat it the same as misinformation.
So there's a form to. If there's no report, you can actually flag it as a disinformation or fake news, right?
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Yes. So let me talk about all the different ways that this can be done, right? First of all, as your colleague showed earlier, a user that's scrolling through Facebook can report something if they believe it's false information, and that would flag it for our systems so that we would have a look at that and potentially pass it on to a third-party fact checker. Also, we ourselves have the ability to look at content that we see going viral, and if we have reason to believe that that would be a potentially harmful piece of misinformation, we can send it to the third-party fact checker.